my screen. Mm. Screens. Okay, good. So let me know when you see my screen. Okay. So okay, I hope this background will be there. So if you see my screen, what we're here about, yes, it's to help ourselves with our classes, with the basic knowledge, the different aspects also of the courses that we'll have to encounter in the course of this program. Yeah, so my name is John Omiyale. I made an attempt before to start a YouTube channel as concerns data, but I was still learning then. I'm still learning now. It's a lifelong learning, right? But it didn't quite kick off. Yeah, but this is an opportunity to impact others, and that's the reason why I'm jumping on it. So, but I welcome anyone who also believes he probably knows better than me or as much as me. You know, we can all do this together to benefit one another. Yeah. So as concerns, I just echoed. As concerns SQL, I want to advise us, as concerns SQL database course that brings us together, I want to advise us that any practice that you are doing, I need to mute you. Any practice that we're doing, we need to involve our notes. There is Aramide's hand is up. Aramide, do you have a question before I go on? Hello, Aramide, can you hear me? Okay, Aramide, you can unmute yourself if you want to say something. So I go on. So any of us that feels that he knows or understands any particular aspect of the course or had been participating in it before, had used it before, and would like to, you know, be a blessing to others, we can collaborate on this, right? We're all learning in this space together. And as concerns SQL database, like I was saying before, every practice that you are doing, I want to advise that you write it in your note, especially because last week the lecturer mentioned that the two tests or the two open book exams that we're going to have in week 7 and week 9, they are open book in the sense that you'll be able to open your textbooks or open your notebook. Now, your notebook can be, okay, there's a name they've called it before, can be your second brain, you know. For me, mine is like my second brain, you know. So I would advise that you use it as much as you can, you know. There are going to be lots of codes. There are going to be lots of, in quote, rules that you need to work by or work with as concerns SQL. You can write it down. Even if you know it, you can write it down so that if you are under pressure in such tests or exams, you'll be able to refer to your note quickly and not be in a fix, right? So for databases, there are a couple of them. There's Oracle database that I have been exposed to in the past. There is SQL Server. That's the one that I have in front of me right now. Microsoft SQL Server. But I've not really started using this. The one that we have been told by the faculty that we would use for this course is MySQL, which I've also used a couple of months or thereabout ago. So I have it somewhere here. Did I exit it? I think I exited it. So if I go to my startup, okay, I have MySQL workbench here. If I power it up, excuse me. If I power it up, there was something that uh, Professor Moanad. I don't know if he's a professor, but I think he has a PhD. Moanad mentioned instances. This is an example of an instance. In this MySQL workbench now, we have this one instance that I've used before. This instance has some of my previous codes or scripts, SQL scripts that I've maybe used to practice. But if I want to open another instance, all I need to do from the MySQL workbench I have here, let me minimize this. All I need to do from the MySQL workbench I have here is to click this plus sign. I don't know if we can all see it. You can do a show of hands so that I'll be sure you are seeing my screen.
Yeah. Sorry, actually
Yeah.
we cannot see your screen.
You can't see my screen.
No, we can't.
Okay, so I'll reshare. Okay. Thanks for that. I'm resharing. And you
Now
should
we can see it.
be
Yeah,
able to.
that worked.
You can see it now.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So I'll close this and restart it. Like I said before, this is Microsoft SQL Server I have here. I've not quite used it. And I think for me, it's fortunate that I've not quite used it yet as concerns this master's program. Because if my faculty has said that we'll be using MySQL, then I'd rather stick with MySQL at least for the first few months or weeks, before I start trying my hands out on other database systems based on maybe the companies that I am targeting for my internship or my co-op or jobs, right? Yeah, so back to MySQL. I come to my startup. I either type MySQL Server or MySQL Workbench, and I have Workbench here already because I've used it a couple of months back also. If I power it up, I said this, so this is my SQL Workbench. I said this local instance here is an example of that instance that Moana talked about in class. I don't know if he taught your class, but he taught my class, my session. You can have more than one instances on your workbench at a time. So this instance is one I've used in the past, logged in with my root ID, and I had some practice, nice practice for myself here. But you can open another instance. To open another instance, you need to go to the plus sign that is beside MySQL connection here. If you click it, it will bring up details of whatever it is you want. What do you want to call this connection name? I can say this connection name is SQL get together, as we are doing right now. SQL get together or SQL party. Okay. To cut the chase, if I do that, I check standard TCP/IP. This has something to do with CNN networking. It's what I've selected, so it's what I should use. And this is the port that will be used. The user will be root. I've already stored my password, the password of my root in the vault. I can show us, or we can go through all that together when you're installing your own MySQL workbench, right? And then next will be to test the connection. If you test the connection, you will see, okay, so if it's a new one you're creating, new username, you could see a plus sign or an exclamation sign here that shows that the test is worked. You get, but in this case, no need. I think we should just go for OK. And then to ask us for password. So I've created two instances here now. I have a local instance that I didn't quite name. It was named generically. Then I have one that I've actually named as our SQL party, right? So I type in my password. This password was also installed alongside with the installation. Yeah, so I already have that with me. So I hope I remember my password. Yes, I think I do. And boom, so we have an instance, right? Now, the things that I've done in the past as concerns the former instance that I have shows a number of things I have here already. I will just take us through some. I'll still look for a way to maybe do some session where I can tell us the nitty-gritty of the entire window you're seeing here, on MySQL, right? But I think for the purpose of this class, so that we can maximize the time and you guys can go to bed on time for classes tomorrow, I'll just go through like a few of them, right? So up here on the file, you have a box. I don't know if you really can see or if I can expand. I don't think I can expand my screen. So please try and expand the screen from your own end. So the top here, under file, you see a box with SQL in it and a plus sign. SQL in it and a plus sign. That you can use to open a new tab. If I click it, you can see I had the first tab here of query 1. You can close it again. The first tab that we had initially is query 1, right? If you click that, you can have a fresh tab with which you can do all sorts, right? So that's to open new tabs. And sometimes you don't even have any tab at all, so you have to click that. Then this you can use, the one beside it, SQL with this, you can use to open previous scripts that you have written and probably saved in your drive at some point or the other. When we get to the point where that's needed also, we'll see it as much as possible. And then under the two of them, you see navigator that shows you schema. Schema was one of the things that the lecturer also mentioned online. I apologize, short break. I'm recording this, so I'm really hoping that the Christian song that is playing on my background is not on it. I'm hoping, please, just in case, for those who will be watching the recording, if it's there, I apologize. I've not been able to find to turn it off, so, and I don't want that to stall the class. But of course, MD has already confirmed to me that you guys are not hearing. You guys are live right now, so we can progress. Okay, so you see schema right here, right? And on the schema, you will see the different databases that have been created. You have here 5 databases that have been created. You have the one that is Cs, you have the one that is sales with double S, the one that is sales with a single S, the one that is employees, the one that is album. They are all databases, right? And a database is like a schema. I know that the lecturer also at some point was struggling with what is the plural of schema, what is the singular of schema. Well, MySQL says the plural of schema is schemas. No offense to our lecturer, right? But yes, the tiniest things can shake the biggest sharks, right? All right, so right now, as we are here, before I delve into it, right, I can create another database to make it a 6th database, just for us to confirm that first before we move on, right? So I don't know who wants to volunteer their name right here, but we can use somebody's name. And the syntax for that is create database. Create database. Who is nominating their name? Who's nominating his own name for his or her name for us? Yes, you can unmute yourself and talk. Unmute and talk. Anybody? Okay. Since nobody, I will use Aramide. Okay. So a database called Aramide, right? And control and enter to run it. So I've clicked that now. You can see here, if you come under here, you can see where it says create. So I clicked it twice. The first time, the action was create database Aramide, and the message says one row affected. I don't know if you can see here, just at the footnotes under output, action output. It showed the time that was done and the result that gave us. I'll lift this up a bit. And then it shows us how long it took for this particular script to run. It shows it's an effective script. Now see the second one that I clicked, because I clicked Control Enter twice. The second one is talking about the same, create database Aramide, and gave us an error code. The error code is cannot create database Aramide. Database already exists. And that took only 0 seconds. So it didn't use our resources at all. Now, let's go back to schemas. Under schemas, we can see that what we still have here is 5 databases. Aramide hasn't joined these databases. To check and confirm that it has been created, all we need to do is come to the front of schemas. You see a refresh button there, and then click that refresh button. And then boom, Aramide is there. However, Aramide is still a shell database. It's still a database without tables, a database without views, without all other parts, indexes and codes. You understand? Because if you click this arrow beside Aramide, you will see that the table is empty, views empty, stored procedures, functions, all are empty. But if I close it back and show you one of the other databases that I've created and played with before, you will see album, for example. Album has tables. Yes, it doesn't have views, stored procedures, and functions, but there are tables. You can see the arrow. If I click the arrow under album, you see it has how many tables? 4 tables. I would have really loved this class to be interactive. So if I have anybody who is willing to talk so that I'll know I'm not alone, I'll love it. Right. So like how many tables do we have on that table here now? From what you can see.
Yeah, that's 4.
Yeah, we have 4. That has been created. There are times when there's a long script, that you use to create the tables and fill up the tables. I'll show us an example of such script maybe in the next time we have this class. I don't know how often we can have this, but I can get to show us the next time we'll have this, right? But there are times also that tables are singly filled, The exercise that Moanad had with us can actually be brought to a database like this, right? Especially after filling out the Excel that some of us were using in the class, even though I couldn't use my laptop went off, so I will need to copy from someone's Excel. But after validating, checking through your Excel, removing errors, you can now start sending those data points or data sets or filling those field rows to your data, your tables or the tables in your database, right? Especially after you have already set the structure of your table. You've already told the one that should be the primary key, the one that should be the foreign key, the one that can be null, the one that cannot be null. You've already put all the constraints there. It's easy for you to impute data, into the tables in your databases. So if you open album now, you see that album has colons already also, because your tables should have at least 1 colon, right? So under album, we see that album has how many colons here? Let me see if I can expand this. I don't think I can expand it. That's a shame. I'd love to expand it. Anyways, but you can try to follow this, right? So you look here, you see that column as album. That's album as a table has these following columns: album ID, album name, artist ID, record label ID, genre ID, and release date. So if, for example, I come under here now to say, okay, don't let me jump into that. I'll come back to that so I don't confuse us. So that's for album, right? For artists, same thing. Artist too has columns. See them. It's even a very big table, lot of column. It has foreign key also. It has already selected what would be its foreign key. Triggers, okay, these ones are not quite set. Okay, good. This one has primary key set. What's the primary key? Artist ID. So if you look here now, you see under the primary key, they've already selected artist ID to be the primary key. These are some of the things that we'll work on when we're working on ERD, ER diagrams, entity relation diagram that I talked about. But understanding MySQL from this angle can help you to be able to even connect your entity relation diagram better. So the logical, the conceptual, the physical designs that you are doing for your database or the tables makes life very easy for you. Another tool that would have made entity relation diagram very simple and straightforward for any of us is Power BI. The encounter I had with Power BI a couple of years back shows a place where when you're trying to push in data into Power BI, it will show you a place where the connections between the tables are done in something similar to an entity relation data diagram. And then that will show you the link from how one table links to the other and makes life easier for you. So these are some of the things that I would also encourage. If we are open to it, I would encourage us to look at them together so that it can consolidate your learnings better, So when you can remember something in different diagrams, it makes it easier for it to stick and for you to be able to work confidently with it in our projects or in any exam or pop quiz you might have to do, right? So that's it about the tables on the album. If you check others, you see that other schemas that have also have tables. This one too has tables. Yeah, and like that. And it goes on like, right? So what I wanted to talk about before, I wanted to test something that I've not really quite tested before and see if it works. So under, let's see, under employee here, we have departments. So I want to do a quick selection from departments, right? I'll just choose 2 of the columns. So department has just 2 columns. Can you imagine? Okay. Let me just select 1 column. So select just a moment. Select department name. Department name from departments. All right. So control enter. And let's see what it gives us. I'll use this one also. See. So it said select this from this. All right, good. This is what I wanted to show us. So I'm happy this popped up. Now see what it says here. If we come down to the output section, it says select department name from department. Error code 1046. It says no database selected. Select the default DB to be used by double-clicking its name in the schemas. These the beginning schemas list in the sidebar, right? The reason why this was like this is most often when you are trying to query a database in your database system that probably has more than one database or more than one schema, right? The best is to start by saying use so database. So in this case, what we're supposed to do before running this query is to say use, then we'll look for the schema name that has this table data department under it, and that schema name is employee. Have I lost anybody? So the schema name is employees and the table is departments, right? So I have to say use employees, the schema. So I tell it the exact database or the exact schema. You can use those words interchangeably. The exact schema that I want to query from. So I will say use employees, and run that first before I'll now say select department name from department. And then if I run this, it will give me results, right? So I'll go here first. I don't think my control enter worked. So I'll go here first and do run again. So use employees. It says 0 row affected. Then I'll come here and click run again. And now I will have it. So now this window is a result window. Now I can see the department names in that table. I can come again and say select all, which is the asterisk from, sorry about that. I tried to put these things in cap, from departments, and then see what happens. You can see now it's showing me both the department numbers and the department names as against the one it gave me initially when I requested for only the department name. So if what you want to use at that time is just department name, there's no point doing select asterisk. Just go for exactly the columns that you need. Now, I will run through some things maybe later so that none of us gets confused when I'm using them interchangeably. There are some names, that can confuse you if you have not learned that when it comes to SQL or database, they can be used interchangeably. They can confuse you, things like database and schema, things like tables and attributes, things like rows and tuples, those things. So we need to learn those things. For attribute, now I think it's either interchangeably used with colon or table, but I'll find out, right? But it's good to know those things so that when they are being used, you don't get confused either in during the class or in some sort of materials that you might find or they might share with us to study from, right? So these few queries we've run now will now lead me to explaining this entire MySQL workbench window a little more. So when it comes into the query window, right? These two, I need to explain what these two signs mean. So this one is execute the selected portion of the script or everything if there is no selection. So if I am here now and I click this, what I'm telling it to do is to run all this query from create database all the way to the end. That's what this key, this particular icon will do. It will run everything, right? But if that's not what I want, if what I want is to just run only this one, and I still want to use this icon, I need to highlight it just the way I've done before I click this. Then it runs only the script. However, if I am using this icon, the one beside it, all I need to do is make sure that the cursor is within or in front of the script I want to run. So if I leave my cursor here and I click this one with an I, it executes the statement under the keyboard cursor. So it's good that we know that, so I can help. But I know that there are also some short keys, shortcuts, key combinations that we can use, I'll just try and fine tune that, and then I could share them with us, just like in other tools also, like Jupyter Notebook for Python now. There are key combinations that you can use that can make your life much easier. So you don't have to be going to the scroll bars or top ribbon, to click anything before you can run your codes. And that helps you to be as fast as possible, right? Good. So now I think we should take some queries. But before we take some queries, I will take some questions. If there are any, I believe there should be. So I would, okay, I'll still leave my screen shared, but I'll entertain some questions if we have some questions, please. Yeah, you can do a show of hand and we can ask. If you don't want to ask, you want me to read it out, you can just send it into the chat box and then I'll read it up. So far, we have nothing in the chat box. Aramide said 4. Okay, Aramide was chatting what the question I asked earlier. So Aramide, any question? I won't be able to take this call. Access. No access. Okay. Yes, any question or I should go on? Okay, I see Aramide said none. So if it's none for others, please also, I want us to just type that so that I'll be sure that I'm not alone before I continue. Okay, I see continue from a Sosa. Who else? Who else is listening? Shall we go on? Yeah, the reason why I want us to actually say that is to be sure that we're going the right direction, because it's possible that we have people in the house here who actually want to go straight to learn a particular thing. So we don't slow ourselves down, right? I'm hoping that we can wrap up in the next 30 to 40 minutes at the most, or even less, So am I on the right track, or we should steer this conversation in some other direction? Esosa says yes. Okay, who else? Where is MD? MD, you're not saying anything again. I'm only hearing Aramide, Esosa. Johnny Friend, you're not saying anything. Kishore, you're not saying anything. Jayanti, you're not saying anything. NR, what happened? Jessica, you're not saying anything. Okay, Kisha, I see yes. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, I guess we'll continue. Okay, MD says listening, we should go ahead. Jessica say yes, okay. Okay, good. So we'll go ahead, right? So what we'll quickly do now is to look into let's look into some syntaxes, right? That I believe that you could play around with when you are alone, trying to walk through this, right? Yeah, so the first one is that use schema that I talk about, whatever the name of the schema is, use schema is very important because now currently with this tab and instance that we're using right now, we're actually dealing with only employees schema. That's this employee schema. Despite the fact that we have 6 others, we have Aramide, we have Album, we have Sales with double S, we have Sys. But the only one we're dealing with right now is employee. Now, if I open Sales to show us the table, okay, no table under Sales, no table, okay, there are tables under this. So if all of a sudden now we decide to want to get something from the table under Sales with single S, what are the columns? Okay, that's company ID, company name, headquarters. Good. So if eventually, all of a sudden now we say select all from company ID. It is not a strange sorry, from companies. Apologize. Company ID is the column. Companies is the table. That's this one here, companies. Table under sales. It's not under employees. If I do this query, it's not going to give me, most likely not going to give me anything. You can see what is the result I gave us. If you scroll down here in the output section, it says select all from companies, error code, table employees dot companies doesn't exist. Now, Prof. Mohamed also mentioned this in class last week, where he was talking about where he put 2 names together with a dot in between them. Generally, the syntax is whenever you have any word X dot another word, let's say T, the X is actually the schema name. All right. The X is schema name. Schema name, while the T is table name, right? So it's good. It's important that we know that, so that because this will definitely be needed by the time we start getting to the point of SQL where we'll be dealing with joins, inner joins, outer joins. Big names, yeah, but they are not so much of a big deal. All we just need to master them. So when you get to that point, we'll cross the bridge, right? No hassles for anybody. So, but basically, x.t should show the schema name dot the table name. That's the way the syntax is, in MySQL and a couple of other databases, right? So that's what they're telling us here, that this table companies inside the schema employees does not exist, even though there is a table companies inside sales schema. But because what we are on in this instance is use employees, use this schema, that's the reason why this can work. If all of a sudden now I change this and I say use sales, right? I run it and then I come down and copy this select all from companies that didn't work initially and bring it down here and run it, it will run. You understand? It will run. It says select all from companies. Table employee, that means this hasn't run yet. Doesn't start using sales yet. Okay, we didn't run it. You can see that between this story I wrote here, explaining the x.c, it didn't show us any query that ran for use sales. So let's go back and run that. That hasn't run yet. So use sales now, has it run? It still hasn't run. Sales. Is there any syntax error? Okay, I'll close this. I'll cross this out. Then I'll run this again. Okay, now it ran. So I think, I don't know if this, because I probably should have covered this explanation I did in front, what they call it now? What's this thing? Front slashes. I think there's a way you can put your comments in front slashes and code to show that they are actually not scripts or part of the script, but they are just explanations or comments, right? I didn't do that. But now that I've been able to run use sales and it ran, right? If we run this select all from companies, then we'll see results. You can see now it ran, because if you look here, you can see it's green, select all from companies ran, 0 rows returned, because the table is empty, right? So the table is empty. It was one of the test tables that I created. Is empty, but it's in existence. You know, before it didn't run. This select all from companies here, up here, in action 9 did not run because it said employee.companies doesn't exist. Yes, employee.companies doesn't exist, but sales.companies exists. All we just needed to do is let the database system know that, hey, we want you to query from sales schema, and then we rerun that query, and it gave us results that we desire, right? Now, in later time, I would also run through queries where we can use to impute data inside this table, right? So as it is right now, you can actually impute data inside this table, you know, and we'll be able to see several rows inside it, right? But we'll come to that in the course of time. But let me just quickly run through. I'll go back to employees. Let me see if this is possible. If you do this, okay, good. So we can just go to previously run script and just run it again. So we're back to employees now. Before we go far in employees, there's a few more things I feel we should show. So I've talked about creating database. When you create a database, the next thing should be that you want to create a table, right? Now, reason why ER diagram is important is your table should link, right? But in this case, I want to create a new table inside employees, but I need to see which table is really going to be necessary, right? So let's look at it together. So for employees, we have departments, we have department employee, we have department manager, we have employees, we have salaries and titles. What else? What else do we think needs to be created for employees? What else? Off the top of my head, I think it'd be good if we start having employers that have recreation types for employees, right? So, for example, we have an employee. The employee has a department. He has employee number. He has birth date, first name, last name, gender, and all that. But in that office, I think they should have a recreation, and okay, it might be difficult for me to link this, but so that we don't stall the video, right? Let's just create it. Recreation, right? Employees should have recreations and hobbies. So I come here and I say create table. Is if all we have been talking about, all these codes I've been writing, you have been writing them down in a note. Can you just do a show of hands so I'll be sure somebody is getting what we're talking about? Because these things are going to be important when it comes to test time, right? If there's anybody like that, you can do a show of hands. So we'll do create table, right? And to create table, the syntax is such. Create table, then we mention the table name. So in this case, we say it should be recreation, right? Recreation. And then when you do that, you should then now put the columns that you expect in the recreation table by putting them in parentheses. I have this. I'll come down here and I'll close it and I'll have my semicolon. Now, inside this, I can now start writing the columns that I want. So for a recreation, I want there to be a recreation ID. Recreation ID. I think that recreation ID should be, you are going to put the data type that everything inside that colon should be. So it should be integer, right? Then what else? Can the recreation ID be empty? No, it cannot be empty. So I'll put a constraint, not null, right? Not null constraint, not null, right? Then I can go to the next column. What other column do I want to put? I can put recreation name, recreation name, right? This recreation name is supposed to have text written, so it's like string. And normally in databases, string is named varchar. So I have varchar. I can say varchar that can have up to 220, 255 characters, right? Should every recreation have a name? Is it possible to have a recreation that doesn't have a name? No, I don't think so. So it should also have not null, so that, because these are constraints, right? If you do not put the constraint there that, hey, this colon cannot be empty by putting not null constraint, it is possible for someone to impute data and not put a recreation name. And that can cause some sort of confusion, in your data later on, if you're going to use that data for some sort of model, or you're going to use it for some sort of insight or visualization, you'll miss out on data because a constraint was not put when you were creating that table. So I have that. And then next, what else do we have? I think we can have recreation location, right? We can have location, and location is going to be varchar also. Varchar, you can still say 255. Do we want it to be not null? It's determinant on us. I would insist, but just so that this doesn't become a pattern, I can leave it here. Then next, I can go to timing, recreation timing. So if I create a company, and I will one day, I'm hoping that YouTube will do. Everybody needs that, so that we can employ some more people. If I create a company, there'll be a couple of recreation. Some will be early in the morning, some will be late in the after work, some will be in between work. So a recreation like yoga, for example, can be midday for me, because I feel that it's something you might want to do immediately after eating, and that will not get you too sweaty. It just stretches your muscles, helps your concentration, help your digestion, and you get back to work. Some others like swimming, I believe will also work your muscles, but it might be something you want to do immediately you get in or before you go for lunch, because it will get you hungry much more than others, you know, and you want to eat. Other recreations like football, volleyball can be at close of business because they really get you sweaty and you might love to just finish in your short pants and what have you, enter your rides or the bus and go home so that you can go and clean up at home and be fine, right? So there'll be timing. So timing can be virtual also. Sorry, timing now will be date and time, right? So I'll put it there. And whether it should be not null or not, determinant, right? So we have this. Just a moment. I'm suspecting something, but let me just be sure. Okay. Okay. So timing. Time. Then this. Okay, well, I make it timestamp. I think timestamp is something I'm familiar with. I'm very sure there's something about time that is also correct, right? So you have this and you can create it. Sorry, it's telling us something there. Let me just see what it's saying. Dash is not valid at this position, expecting an identifier. I don't know what identifier it needs, but we'll be fine. Now I can choose what's going to be the primary key for this table. Primary key. And then in parentheses, I'll put which of these columns I want as a primary key, and that will be recreation ID for me. So recreation ID, and I close that, and then we're good. Oh, okay. So I think that primary key identifier is what that error was referring to. Now the error has disappeared. If you're following me, you can notice that the error has disappeared. So that's what it was talking about. So I have this, and then I can click run, right? Is anybody with me? Show of hands. Just raise your hand. So I'll be sure that you went through everything with me. But we can watch it, even if you are not following. So then I can click run. Aha, so it tells us create table recreation, blah, 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 blah. 0 rows affected. It has been done. Meaning that if I come back here now, under tables, under employees, I should be able to see one of the tables as recreation. So I'll click employees here. And employees as, sorry, this is not the instance. This is a table. We're under employee, right? Employees. No, where this is not the right employee now. Why is this thing giving us a headache? Okay, good. So it's supposed to have created a table under employees. So among title, salary, employees, the department manager, department employee, and department, we're actually supposed to also have a table that is called recreation. So we need to come to refresh this, you know. So I'll refresh this and then we'll see whether it will pop it for us. Right? I refresh now and there it is. Recreation has shown up. So this recreation here created. How is it created? How many colons is there? If you check the colons, you see recreation ID, recreation name, location, and timing. Perfect. So this is an example of how to go about creating tables. But I think we'll do, maybe in some other session, we'll do a couple more examples, you know. We use all sorts, right? So that, and I would appreciate suggestions from everybody also so that we can see how not particularly one way or one size fit all it is. You know, it's just depending on your use case, you know, or your business requirement or data requirement, what exactly you want can be created. You understand the exact way you want it and the kind of validation that you want in the table. I should be wrapping up in 10 minutes. If you want to alter table, from my notes here, I also have that if you want to alter table, all you need to do is alter table. So I'll create another dummy table, right? I'll say create table nuisance. Create table nuisance, and I will send it. It's still going to create because see it here. Oh, it didn't create. A table must have at least one visible column. Okay, so let's give it some visible column. So table nuisance, and then we'll open. Inside it, I will put nuisance ID. Nuisance ID. I won't put any serious whatever there. I'll just go straight and say it is the primary key. Primary key nuisance ID, right? Okay, integer, not null, and then I'll close it. I need to close it. It needs to be one more. Yes, so that disappeared. You can see that this cancel sign can even guide you when you're writing scripts, right? Because it guided me to the point where I knew something was still missing, right? And when I put that parenthesis allowed, meaning that I could have also removed all this and it will still allow it. If I cut this out, can you see that it will not still allow? So I need to put the specifics of the colon and then to run. So I run it now. And it has run. It has created nuisance. If I come back here, it's not showing anything now. But if I come back and I refresh, I will see nuisance, right? So we have everything. We have recreation, we have nuisance, right? So what I want to do now is I want to drop that table. I can alter the table. So under nuisance, we have, if you check the column, we have only one column. I can alter it and say alter table. Alter is you want to adjust the structure of the table. Maybe you want to add more columns or you want to remove or drop off a column. So I can say alter table nuisance, and then you now want to put whatever it is you want to edit, you right? Other table nuisance, add, you specify the other column. So maybe nuisance name, and it's supposed to be varchar, and it's supposed to be 255, right? And you can end it, and you can run it. If you run this, it will tell you alter table has been run, and even though it hasn't yet updated yet, if you refresh the schema, your nuisance name will be there. You can see the nuisance name now. Now I can drop this table, right? Drop table nuisance. And let's see, sorry, apologies. Nuisance, and then run it. If I'm too fast, please let me know. So drop table nuisance. If you come here, back here, you can see that nuisance is gone. We didn't even need to refresh before this happened. Nuisance is gone. With all the stress we did on nuisance, it's very painful. If I refresh, you see that nuisance is still not there. If I come back here and rerun this, if I highlight, I can highlight and click the first one, like I explained before, or I can put the cursor in front and just click this. If I click this and I refresh, you will see nuisance with only nuisance ID again. Only nuisance ID. Can you see it? If I come here and I run this one also again, you will see another nuisance with nuisance name included. Can you see? And if I come here again and I click drop nuisance, it will disappear. So that's the beauty, right, of database of MySQL. So I want to just encourage us, right? I'm learning just like you're learning. Our level of learning might be it can only be different, right? But I want to assure you that we would enjoy this tool, MySQL, and the way I've seen the program, the entire master's program. Also, I think it's designed to help collaboration. So there definitely needs to be collaboration among us, whoever the person is, right? I want to believe that anybody that is on this program also is open to interacting with people. So don't keep to yourself. Let's interact, whether or not we belong to the same group, but whoever it is that is in your group, collaborate with them to deliver something fantastic. I think the way they've designed the program is such that nobody should fail, except someone that's actually just determined, to fail. So I look forward to. I think I'll stop it there for today. It's already 1 hour 19 minutes, and I think we're just about 11 or 10 here. So I think this would help other people to also be able to join. Eventually, it's been a fantastic time. I'm grateful that you guys had made my time worth the spending. Yeah, because if there's anything for me, I like to impact. I like to share knowledge. Sometimes I even want to learn to share, even if I don't know it before, right? It drives me to learn. So it was nice having us here, and I'm very grateful that I had this tool and I've done the few things I've done with it before we came to meet one another on this program. Yes. So thank you so much to all of you and to those that watch after. If you're open to this, we can do this again. We can make it once weekly. We can make it 3 times weekly. It doesn't matter for me. I can find a location. I'll find a location that will be suitable for my flatmates and roommates. Yeah, but um, let me know. Just give feedback, then we can all collaborate together when we see in class or on the group chat and decide. And also, if we have more people that will be able to share things like this, I'll be open to interact or have conversations with them on what we can design. Yeah. So thank you very much. I'll stop sharing my screen now. Uh, thank you very much. This was fantastic. Thank you. I see that, Esosa. Thanks for the, yeah, thanks to you all too. Thanks to you all. Yeah. So we'll catch in class. I pray you have a fine second week. Check your cascades, just look through. I think the material is really voluminous though, but I think it's not something that I won't be able to cope with if you can just set aside 2 hours or 4 hours, weekly. It's something we should be able to go through, and maybe we can also find a way to interact together to help one another. Yeah. Thank you so much. All right. God bless. Yeah, thank you. I see all that. You're a good teacher. I'm blushing. Thank you, John, for taking your earliest time to teach us. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Right. Bye-bye. Recording stopped.